Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As we're about to title today's video, here to rank the finishing badges and tiers in NBA 2K24 for the second time. So, like I said in yesterday's video with the defensive version, if you want to check that out, the last time I did this tier list video was 100 days ago, so it was a couple weeks into the 2K24 cycle. So with a lot of that information, I either didn't even know what I thought of certain badges like Slithery and Giant Slayer and openly explained that because I didn't have them ranked at all, or maybe had some that are scattered amongst the A tier and B tier here in some of the wrong places. And as you can see, we're a little bit vague with it too, because we put literally a majority of all these badges in the A tier and B tier because I wasn't exactly sure how to rank all of them. So the game was in a completely different state as well back then, where like dunk metering was so different and my intellect on dunking was so different as well. And then obviously we had things like layups that have remained good as well in this year's game too. So we are here to update you guys on the tier list for the finishing, so I hope y'all enjoy. If you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to noties, all good stuff, and like always, tries 1,000 likes. So to start us off, we have Giant Slayer. It's going to find its way into the B tier. Once again, an unranked badge in last version's tier list. So with the information that we've now discovered with this badge, it can be very good, but this year's game does not really promote playstyles of 6'4" and under. So like 6'4" is the baseline minimum, in my opinion, that you should ever make a build in this year's game. It's what can get off speed booster. You can get all types of, combinations of high three-pointer, high ball handle, all the things that you would want as a small guard. And obviously, the taller you go, the more resistance you have to shot contest and stuff like that. It's not like it was in the past where you have things like mismatch expert, etc., that promote and benefit going smaller than 6'4" on the height. Not to mention, you can get literally, once again, all the ratings like ball handle and three-pointer to the maximum necessities you'd ever need, and it's about as simple as that. So with that, naturally comes the lack of being able to abuse Giant Slayer or something like that. So I gotta say, it is a very good badge, but it's also hard to find the types of people that you would stick out so significantly on in terms of the activation of this badge as you would in years past. Again, guards are taller, bigs are shorter. That's kind of just how it goes in this year's game. You don't find bigs that are over 7 foot very often, and you don't find guards that are under 6'4" very often. So the gap in terms of what is most explicitly used for the Giant Slayer is a little bit, I would say vague, to be honest. So anyway, it's still a very good badge, and if you have that extreme end of the chart, if you will, where like a 6'4" is going up on a 7-footer, it can definitely resist the contesting extremely well, but it's more for that specific niche type of, end of the charts, like we said. Now, obviously, you could still be like 6'4" and get contested by a 6'9" back end and stuff like that, and it'll still activate on stuff like that, but let's not gas Giant Slayer up way too much. It's not like it's one of the best badges in the game, even if it were to constantly activate from 6'4" to 7 foot. It's still a decent badge. Anything that helps you make layups in this game can be pretty nice, and obviously contested layups even still have a really good chance of going in, and then you have some badges that animate you out of contests even for that matter as well. So to speak of one of those, we have Slithery, also going to be in the B tier. Now, in my opinion, Slithery in the B tier is probably the best B tier badge that we have in here. It's really as simple as that. I didn't feel like it belongs at the A tiers, but it's still like good. I'll put it that way. Now, it doesn't work the way that it used to. It doesn't really activate on contact dunking that extreme, to be honest with you guys, and I gotta say, I think it's more of a finesse finishing badge. It activates on Euro spins, hops, stuff like that, layups, even scooper, even floaters it activates for. But when you come to find out how this works in terms of like going for dunk meters or just dunks in general, Slithery rarely pops off. It maybe does from time to time, but not very consistently on dunking at all. Now, if you do like a hop dunk, that's where it may activate as well, but this is more for finesse finishing, and I've come to find out that maybe it can nudge people out the way and stuff like that, but I don't bank on that as something that is truly a given. I know some people have told me that like if they go with their X button dunks or even with the dunk meters, they believe Slithery activates for stuff like that. But let me tell you, I don't see it do it, and I don't feel the necessity of having it. Like, I've obviously played, with it on silver on brand new builds and stuff like that, and trying to like really focus on the activation rate of it versus a Hall of Fame. Or even for that matter, I've also played on builds where I strictly am doing dunk meters and I'm not boosting up my, let's say, hop spins and Euros in the Sunset Park or anything like that, right? Like I have been lately. Long story short, the Slithery can even get down to bronze on some builds for me if I just load it up, instantly play with it, and just start dunk metering everywhere. And I really don't feel a difference, to be honest with you, when it comes to the dunking. It's about as simple as that. I find this to be more of a layup badge. It's not how it used to be. Slithery used to be so significantly important when it came to contact dunking. It was actually one of the things that glided you into contact dunks rather than getting kicked out of them super consistently. But in this year's game, I don't believe it does that. Now, we also have a really non-functional badge to continue talking about in today's video, and that's Precision Dunker. So I've also been told, and I'm gonna be real with you guys, my ego is through the roof when it comes to the slashing stuff. That's just how it is, and I know what I'm talking about when I do stuff like this. Like when it comes to precision dunker, I've done tests on this. I've played the game itself with different fluctuating levels of precision dunker. I've loaded up in that My League and done a test of none to bronze to silver to gold to Hall of Fame, and had the exact same driving dunk rating, and did a recording of it all being the exact same size on the dunk meter. I changed the ratings and stuff like that, and made it to see if maybe, like, you know, the rating was too high or something like that, to see if precision dunker would impact it at a lower rating level. No, it doesn't. It's a non-functional badge. I felt like that in game. I felt like that in the tester as well in my League, and it just doesn't work. Simple as that. It's literally a non-functional badge. So if it were to be working, I really think it'd be nice if they made, let's say, the bronze and silver end of the precision dunking stuff, the dunk meter, be a little bit smaller, and then maybe like gold stay as is, and the Hall of Fame could get like a boost. But I think we're past that point. I don't think 2K is going to do much more gameplay edits and stuff like that. I think we're pretty much solidified in the way that the game looks right now, and it probably won't have too many changes or patches. So precision dunker is currently sitting in the F tier for me as a completely useless badge. Simple as that. So to move along, we have acrobat. This is also going to be in the B tier. So like with this badge, I've noticed I've been on builds with 88 driving lay, I've been on builds with 80, I've been on, you know, different fluctuating levels of bronze, silver, and gold acrobat. And gold stands out as a significantly easy thing to make when it comes to, like, let's say my best example that I can give you guys is when I go for the dunk meters but realize it's going to be a tiny meter because the person just happens to be sitting down in the paint, right? I'll start the dunk but then realize how bad of an attempt it's going to be before I even really like let the meter kind of fill up. So at that point I'm just spamming X from that point, right? Like until I am able to get the, you know, acrobating out of that dunk meter animation, and boom, there you go. It turns into a non-timed layup, right? Because obviously you don't have any pro touch influence on this or anything like that, or your timing on the layup. It's just a non-timing factor where it's like NA, right? So with that, it really does fluctuate as far as like that 88 felt like I literally never missed it. 80 and under, it feels like it can be a little spotty here and there. It's not quite as like consistent of a rate to go in, so it's a little bit tough to do tier list videos like this when fluctuating levels of the badge feels like it has fluctuating kind of success rate, if you will. But I find acrobat to be definitely a B tier badge, grouped in with a lot of different layup badges that we're going to have in today's video as well. But acrobat, again, good for canceling out of dunk meters, good for canceling out of just dunks in general, and if you happen to go with a layup and the animation happens to be something that you don't like, or you went with like a scooper, even though scoopers can be really quick as well, so it's a little bit harder to acrobat out of them. But if you go with any animation that you don't like, tap X, see if it's better. It's about as simple as that. If it can't go any worse and you're super walled up, it's a good idea to go for an acrobat. Same with if you get a bad dunk meter attempt where it's a super tiny meter, that's obviously a decent look. Now, next up we have Masher. Masher's going to be coming into the D tier. I definitely don't think this game is very helpful when it comes to finishing down low. We already talked about that when it came to Anchor on yesterday's video, getting kind of nerfed down just because of its lack of importance, essentially, of the fact that even if you have Masher, even if you're going at a smaller defender, honestly, bro, if they're in good position with hands up and they have a decent level of interior defense, it is not a problem. I mean, you can come out here, and we've played with 6-7 back ends consistently. In our current lineup, even for that matter, we're running a 6-7 back end with almost a minimum wingspan for that matter too. And those types of builds can play absolutely good enough interior defense on the mash defense, especially for close shots, if we're specifically only talking about that. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, bro. So it's not your old 2K by any means. We're talking about a lot of different stuff, right? When it comes to the Giant Slayer aspect, you know, Masher. Like in old 2Ks, it used to be dominant. Like one of the most dominant finishing badges in the game, and you'd have 7-3 centers strictly because of the fact that it's hard to stop them on mashing. But in this year's game, that is not the case. You also, once again, as I just mentioned earlier with the Giant Slayer aspect of it, don't have as extremely tall bigs coming out here and playing the game this year. They don't really make like anything taller than 7 foot. If you do see the rare occurrence that someone comes out to 7'1", they really do look extremely slow, and obviously anything past that I haven't even seen on the court for that matter in this year's game. Footers, they're really good, 6'11", 6'10", stuff like that. They really are elite with the speed and size combo, and I just think it's tough to justify making a super tall build. And obviously when you get to that argument, you don't really like have the ability to abuse the Masher kind of aspect as you used to. So It's not only that, but also just that close shots are terrible in this game. So you get a combination of that. So anyway, moving along, we have Posterizer, our first badge that's rising up from the B tier into the A tier. This is going to be something that I kind of just slept on a little bit earlier in the year. It's nothing more to explain to you guys other than that, really. I mean, dunk metering didn't used to be quite as good. Now it is. And the buff of dunk metering has buffed Posterizer in a sense as well. I just think it becomes a little bit more of a necessity. It's nice to have. It gets you kicked out of dunks less if you happen to have it. It's not like a super mind-blowing badge that's like a game changer. I still think dunk rating is more important than Posterizer badge level, but you get that naturally through having a higher dunk rating. Now, obviously, to get Hall of Fame Posterizer is ridiculous. It's not worth going for, never will be, never has, especially the fact that Precision Dunker is useless as well. So the only thing you really get high dunk rating for is the contact dunk animations or the dunk packages themselves. I made a video on that recently if you guys want to check it out, of the top 10 best dunk packages you can run. And, you know, things like elite contacts off one or side clutches, stuff like that. That's what's nice when it comes with what comes to the high dunk ratings and stuff like that. So with 93 dunk, you get gold Posterizer. That's about all you need, in my opinion, to be honest with you. Now, I'm talking gold Posterizer, not 93 dunk. I've explained that in other videos as well. But anyway, obviously, Posterizer, it gets you canceled out of dunks less. Simple as that. And obviously, it can get you into more contact dunks as well, but that's kind of the same nature of what I literally just said. So it's a little bit hard to get any more thorough than that, to be honest with you guys, but it is what it is. So next up, we have Scooper. I was going to personally, like if this was a tier list just for me, I would put this in the C tier. I don't use it that much. I find it to be kind of corny to go for, but I understand that there are some very niche people out there, like that come to the 5-out style, that have a really high layup rating and stuff like that, and they're willing to use this. Now, in my opinion, I think any situation that's good for a scooper is also supposed to be good for a contact dunk as well. If someone is on your hip enough to the point where you want to do a scoop layup to that same side ball hand, I find it to be a situation where you should just go for the dunk meter instead. Now, I do also understand that some people will go for the inside hand scooper, and it'll get like, it's kind of what procs the bully animations a little bit more as well, or bulldozer, I should say. And I'll probably get to that in a second here. Honestly, let's go ahead and just explain Bulldozer as well. I'll just move it down because I feel like it ties in a lot with the scooper animations and just like situations that you kind of want to go for. So I do have Bulldozer moving down to the A. I just feel like these two badges, they feel on the same level, and like really the same with all of these, right? A lot of this is layup oriented badges. Bulldozer can be for contact dunks and just dunks in general, but I don't find it to be that much, to be honest with you. But it's like an okay badge. I've noticed though, like when I played against a lot of teams in ranked and just like, you know, maybe some, I can't even say comp pro-am. I don't see many people come out here and do Bulldozer stuff in comp 5s, to be honest with you guys. But anyway, when I like see it in ranked pro-am, right, it'll be some super slow, you know, push him out of the way animation that off the corner I can just react to super easy, super quick, drop off the corner while he's bullying the mess out of my lockdown that can't defend him on the interior or something, right? And then boom, I just swat it because it's as simple as that. I mean, I saw it most specifically with one of the boys that I run with, or like ran with at the early beginning part of the year, and me and Penny, Joe's center that we were on the same team with in the ranked runs, me and him both reacted at the exact same time to this animation where our lockdown got bulldozered, and we both went for the block and both got there in time, and he had to build with like 96 strength Hoff bulldozer and everything. Those animations are ones that stick out to me the most of why this badge isn't exactly comp. Now, it's good for, you know, those one-on-one situations, especially 1v1 court. The less defenders you have on the court, the better the badge is. I'll put it like that. Because then, if you can get your player out of the, if you can get your defender out of the play, it's going to give you the access to a wide-open lay. But the more people there are on the court to react to it, the easier they can kind of react and just go for those blocks and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you have bailout, stuff like that can combine with this, but it can be a little bit tough to depend on. So, just keep that in mind. But anyway, these two badges, you know, I think they're a little bit worse than some people give them credit for, but I'll have them in the B tier, and that's pretty much what I stick to. All right, so next up, we have 3 layup-oriented badges, obviously all the gathers, right? So we have Bunny, 2-step, and Spin Cycle. Now, I'm going to have 2-step and Spin Cycle moving down from the C tier to the B tier, and we have Bunny remaining in the B tier. This is not so much to talk about really like which one is more effective at getting you like those gathers or anything like that. And to be fair, I, after further review, don't believe the higher level the badge, the more distance you're going to be able to like gain as far as doing one of these gathers. I don't think it gives you more distance on the hop, spins, and euros. I don't think it creates more space on them either or anything like that. I think it's literally just for your rate of making the layups and getting into like, you know, hop dunks, spin dunks, euro dunks, stuff like that. So it's still a good concept of badge, and I think they're all pretty important if you happen to be a dunker or a layup kind of guy, especially if you want to get a little bit more you know, advanced with it, less basic. You know, you don't want to just go with straight dunk meters and that's it. And there can be some situations that they're very useful for, like hop dunks and spin dunks are very nice in my opinion because of the fact that you can actually do them and not come like, you know, have to finish the lay, if you will. Whereas Euro dunks, and like Euro lays, you have to finish it. You're either gonna have to bail out of it or go up with the layup. You've committed to it at that point. Whereas with the hops and spins, you can do them and not really have to commit to them quite as much, especially with the hops, because you're gonna get into that area and then you can kind of read out the animation a little bit. And as you do it, watch what the defense does. If it looks like it's gonna be good to go for the dunk, boom, hold X again and hold RT again. There you go, into the dunk animation. Now, again, it works with spins and stuff like that. I just think that hops happen to be a little bit better. It's just really as simple as that. I don't think the badge is better. I just think hops themselves are, rather than spins and Euros. And spin cycle is arguably a little bit better than two-step, just off the fact that, like I said, I think Euros are a little bit tough to do because of the fact that you have to commit to them. But some packages are just better for said things. I mean, if you happen to have a different like layup package, some of them have a terrible hop with good spins and good Euros. So like Harden, with Harden package, two-step is one of the best things you could possibly do as far as a gather. And then its spins and hops aren't quite as good. Same with like DeMar DeRozan, a really good Euro package, but then not as much for spins and hops. You have things like Giannis and even Sabonis that are like extremely good with the hops and stuff like that, but then it's like maybe, you know, or Jokic especially is terrible for the spin cycle, and then it's good enough for like the Euros and hops. So a lot of that is animation dependent on the layups, but I'm just talking in generalization of which one I believe is more important. And if you want to just group them all together and say, oh, Laker, what about just, you know, finesse finishing badges as a whole? Consider it more of like a B tier, C tier sort of thing. It's really as simple as that. So anyway, moving along, we have Dream Shake. This is going to be in the C tier. It's really something that you have to be a post scorer for, obviously, and you have to be an outside post scorer, in my opinion. Now, you could use these moves and the threat of it to bait a defender to play you high, and then boom, if they get up on you tight, you go for those post spins and you know, drop steps and stuff like that. I would really more argue just post spins. But then you have a situation where I think like it's really just something you have to utilize if you're going to be doing post fades and post hops. But even that, like when people do them, bro, it's so predictable. Like if someone does that little shimmy fake, like, you know, like I'll put it like this, to do the animation that I'm talking about right here, you kind of just flick the stick to your ball hand side, and then you can see them do like a little fake, and then obviously they're going to go for a post fade or a post hop after it. It's just like this little thing you do for a Dream Shake boost. So against bad defenders, you can absolutely utilize this a lot. I'm sure Tonic, like one of my boys that does outside post scoring, if you guys aren't familiar with it, I'm sure he would vouch for the fact that Dream Shake is a little bit more of like a mid badge that's more for like trolling / playing against bad players. But if you can utilize it like that, hey, I mean, more power to you. It's not like you have to run badge points for it either, to be fair. So, I mean, it's definitely still decent. But anyway, moving along, we have Hook Specialist in the B tier. Hooks are still good. It's not on the same broken level as it was on week 1 or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure I already like had seen that patch go into play before I even like made this video 100 days ago. But I think like hooks in general can be a nice accessory, but I don't think it's something you can just spam anymore. If people jump at them, it's going to be a 60% contest, and you just don't make them at the same contestant rate as you did at, like, you know, the first week of the game or anything like that. So Hook Specialist, decent badge, you know, good enough for if you have like a multitude of ways to score in the post and stuff like that. If people can't just commit to your outside post game, Hook Specialist will be good. But if they can just jump at everything that you do on the fades and hops and stuff like that and the hooks, just because maybe you have an inside center on your team that's going for those rebounds and stuff like that, that's the problem. Now, if you have like a 5-out offense that you can utilize in that inside post game aspect of it, it's nice because then you can get people, like I just said earlier with things like Dream Shake, to kind of play up on your outside post game aspect of it, and then be able to let that set up your inside post game, like with the post spins and drop steps and stuff like that. So this is more of a setup badge in that way, but obviously it can still be decent if you're playing against, once again, a bad defender that doesn't know to just jump at your hooks when you do stuff like that. So anyway, moving along, we have Fearless and Pro Touch. These are both going to come in at the A tier and remain there. These have just been good badges in general. Obviously, when it comes to making contested layups, like we'll even talk about floaters as well. So like let's go ahead and add one of my favorite badges in the game as well into this conversation, because they're all layup related badges and they're all really good. These are the great layup badges. These are all the mid ones in the B tier right here. The ones that are in the A tier are far superior if you ask me. So like we have floaters that are extremely good. It's one of the most competent things you can do as a slasher in this year's game when people are sitting back on you. It's the substitute to the old ways of slashing, where back in the day when people would sit paint, you could just hold down your stick and boom, they're done for. You know, you just dunk right on their head. But in this game, that's considered good defense. You have to really get people on your hip. You got to get them chasing and stuff like that. I've figured out really good ways to get around that, and floaters are one of them, absolutely, because when you have good layup packages, like for the bigs, I got that Sabonis layup package. It is ridiculous, bro. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen a video on it at this point, and if you haven't, I definitely recommend to check it out. It's crazy. But when you have a good floater package like Trae Young, or maybe even like Jimmy Butler or Luka Doncic or the Sabonis or Jokic or default big, all of these crazy layup packages that have extreme like distance and range on their floaters, it really forces people to play up tighter on you than they really ever would have to, especially if you're someone like me who's a pure slasher. Now, to be fair, if you have a mid-range game, you could just make people bite on that just as easy, but floaters are a really good way to get like easy access to those shots, and not to mention the green window on floaters is significantly bigger than mid-range shots. It's about as simple as that. Like you could almost get like half the bar or even more if you have a high layup rating with Hoff like float game and Hoff Pro Touch, all that stuff combined. Then you add in Fearless Finisher as well, all these included. I mean, you can make 100% contested layups. I've done it before in Rec Center and in Rank Pro Am. I have 2 different clips on Twitter. But anyway, again, when you add in the Pro Touch, that's also a really good badge. Fearless Finisher, good for resisting the contests and stuff like that too, or allowing you to make contested shots even more on the layups. It can be some really overpowered stuff if you have an extremely good layup build. And if you're able to retain all of these badges, I mean, you have the world is your oyster. Look at this. There are so many things. The only one that doesn't apply to this, as far as making layups or like your close shot or driving lay rating, is Posterizer. That's it. Pro Touch, Fearless, Float Game, Giant Slayer, Scooper, Hook Specialist, Bulldozer, Bunny, Slithery, Acrobat, Spin Cycle, Two-Step, Dream Shake. All this stuff is layup oriented. So these are all some very good badges, and when you combine them all, it can be even more elite, but these are the cream of the crop right here at the A tier. So anyway, moving along, we have Aerial Wizard. This was an A tier badge at the beginning of the year, in my opinion. They had contact dunk tendency through the roof. It was absolutely ridiculous to see, but I do believe they patched some contact lobs, in my opinion. And my bad if I said contact dunks first, but contact alley-oops were crazy at the beginning of the year, and I feel like now it's on like a comeback down to earth where you get like knocked out of them pretty consistently. I don't know if maybe we're just throwing more troll alley-oops than we did originally, but I still don't find lobs to be something super competent or like really necessary in most cases, because of the fact that just catching the ball and standing dunk metering or driving dunk metering is extremely superior to catching it with lobs. Lobs are a lot more RNG. You can't really use your like quote-unquote skill as much, and it's really just hoping for a good animation. There's not much like timing that comes down to it either. I know you can time lobs, yes, but like it's not even truly about that. There's no green window on a lob dunk, you know what I mean? It's just some random guessing point, and you might see a slit or a sliver in your dunk, but it's not actually the green window. The green window gets randomly placed in the X button, like, you know, timing circle every time, and you'll never be able to find it. It just pops up once you luckily do it sometime. But anyway, one thing I will say about Aerial Wizard as well, though, is that it's really nice for going for putback dunks if you happen to have a really low offensive rebound rating. So if you don't have O-board, but you tap X button, you will be able to get putback dunks pretty consistently in this game as well. So keep that in mind with it. You could justify it being in the B tier. I would consider it like, you know, a really high C tier in this case, but I don't know. Honestly, B and C, they can pretty much blend together a lot in this video. They're all kind of the same power, to be honest with you. It's just some of these are better, some of these are slightly worse in my opinion. But now let's get into some of the top tier badges in the game. We have Rise Up, that was an A tier badge, and we didn't have a single S tier in last video. Rise Up is going to be in the S tier in today's vid. The absolute most dominant finishing badge in the game, if you ask me. Standing dunk metering has really come along as one of the most overpowered things in this game. It's so hard to stop. The timing on trying to jump and like block them, I know I argued with this in the defensive video in yesterday's video in the comments with someone about this. Not really argue, but just kind of banter back and forth with my opinion personally, that you can't jump and try and block people on their standing contact dunks. It doesn't work. If you're dead zone, if you are square underneath the basket in the absolute perfect spot to be in, which is not too hard to get to in my opinion either, especially if you have a build like mine, like the point center stuff, you can kind of dribble your way down in there and then just pump fake, square up, boom, dunk meter them. They can't do anything about it. It's literally a broken aspect and a broken feature in the game, and the size on the dunk meters for standing dunks, it's insane, bro. You could be double teamed, triple teamed in some cases, and if you're dead zone, it's over. I mean, if you watch comp pro-am games, centers are literally getting intentional fouled off offensive rebounds so consistently because of the fact that they will get an automatic 2 points every time off that catch spot, like, you know, catch, face it up, and dunk meter right on your head. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's no level of interior defense that stops this or anything like that. You have to be in good positioning, but often O-board and stuff like that, it's not very easy to be in good positioning. You know, it's just how it naturally happens. And then you have things like what I do, where it's really easy to dribble your way into the dead zone and then boom, like catch them in there. So again, I really recommend you guys check that out if you don't believe me. In the comp pro-am games, I promise you, you watch a series, you're going to see at least like 7 intentional fouls of an offensive rebound, and then boom, they do not want that dunk meter to go back up. It is a real thing. So next up, we have a real comeback down to earth badge right here. This is just me being straight up wrong at the beginning of the year. So we had fast twitch in the A tier. This is down all the way to the E tier. So I've done further testing on this. I've done further study myself. I've seen 2K Labs actual testing statistically as well. Shout out to 2K Labs. We'll probably plug the promo right here. Also, if you guys didn't know, I'm pairing up with the NBA 2K Lab this year, so you can use code Laker for 20% off at checkout at their website. That's NBA2KLab.com. On this website is all types of really good statistical jump shot information. You can also test the jumpers on their website too. Plug the controller straight into your phone or to your PC. You can get early, green, late. It'll tell you where you need to adjust on that jump shot. Or if you don't know what jumper you want to run, you just go to their jump shot recommender. You punch in your height, the jump shot rating that you're working with, and then based on the milliseconds of timing that you get, it'll recommend you a jump shot. So again, if you want to use code Laker for 20% off at checkout, that's NBA2KLab.com. Appreciate you guys, and we'll get back to the video. But yeah, long story short, this badge doesn't work either. Now, by that theory, I probably should just have it down in the F tier. We'll go ahead and do it just because of how I just said that. But long story short, fast twitch, it just doesn't speed up your dunks at all. I was going to put in the E tier just because I'm not quite as like frustrated with it not working as I am with precision dunker. It's so stupid that this is not a functional badge. So that was just going to be out of spite. But it truly does belong in the F tier because it doesn't work. It's as simple as that. It doesn't speed up your dunks. It doesn't, you know, do anything like that. That's all the badge is supposed to do in the first place, is just speed up your standing dunks. And realistically, it's kind of a corny badge to even be a thing in the first place because there are standing dunk animations that are either faster or slower. And like I've had ones that are so fast that I'm irritated that I even have them, to be honest with you, because when I'm going with those like kind of dead zone standing dunks and stuff like that, I don't like when I get a super fast standing dunk, and it's really like hard to time, to be honest with you guys. I think when you get slower standing dunk animations, they're so unstoppable when it comes to stopping them with the blocks or, you know, walling up and stuff like that, that I'd rather they be slower paced and easier to time. I know that might sound stupid, but I promise you, I truly do believe that. When it comes to the driving dunks, you want them to be as fast as possible because it's easier to, you know, like get into a big dunk meter off someone dropping off the corner or someone that's catching up to you and stuff like that, and you get them in on your hip. But with the standing dunks, it's so dead zone based, and it's not about trying to get to the dunk quickly. If anything, you have to take your time and be patient with it because you have to be squared up with the basket. You can't be, you know, facing backwards and trying to do a standing dunk. It doesn't work like that in this game at all. So long story short, even if fast twitch did work well, I don't even think it's that important to even be had. So it's sitting in the F tier. It's a non-functional badge, but even if it were functional, I'd probably give it more like a C tier, B tier for my personal opinion. Now, if you happen to be an X button dunker and it did work well, I'd probably say it might be more of an A tier badge, but again, it doesn't. So sorry. Alright, so next up we have one of our final finishing badges as far as the slashing stuff goes. You could argue Whistle is a multifaceted badge entirely, and it can be for the shooting as well, so we'll probably have the shooting video on top of that. But I just figured Whistle is a little bit more of a finishing badge if you ask me, with the drawing fouls aspect of it and stuff like that. So Whistle is going to be in the A tier. This is still a really good badge. It's so good that it's kind of annoying in a way. I mean, fouling was already through the roof in last year's game in 23. It was really annoying that people could just run to the hoop and hold X and just hope for something good to happen. And I know I'm on the contrary of that because, well, or I should say I'm kind of in that same argument because I just do dunk meters and hope for the best. But it is frustrating though that like when people go with a terrible take and just get bailed out by their Whistle, and just like that it already was a thing last year and now they doubled down on it and made it a badge for that specifically, it is pretty frustrating. I do understand it's a part of basketball though. It is what it is. I mean, people are averaging, like Embiid, almost averaging 40 points per game in this year, and it's a lot of free throws, man. It's a ton of free throws. Or how Harden in his prime and stuff like that was a good foul baiter as well. So it is what it is, you know, it's part of the game and you have to deal with it, but it does make for a very frustrating time when you play elite defense, really good, and then boom, it's just you end up with a foul, and that can be very, very frustrating, especially with how easy free throws are to hit and how easy it is to have a high free throw rating. So anyway, next up we have Post Spin Technician and Dropstepper. They are our final badges for the video, and as you're going to see, they're both going to come into the B tier. So they're like pretty dominant badges. I have to say, I think you need the full package though. I think you need to be someone that's going to be a little bit of a threat in the outside post game, or you happen to have some real good game on you when it comes to your interior finishing. Now, I personally made a build with post control on a pure inside, and I didn't find it to be too really like useful, because in the most case, people kind of just sag off you anyway, and it's like pointless for you to do things like this, because what's the point of post spinning if they just happen to be sitting low on you? Now, obviously, they're giving it up that easy, and most smart defenders wouldn't be doing that, so they make you like work for it, and obviously in that case, they're gonna play some bait with you. They're gonna like play up on your hip, they're gonna back up, they're gonna play up on your hip, they're gonna back up, make it hard for you to get one of them post spin ankle breaker animations or anything like that. But then at the end of the day, drop stepper can be so dominant in the aspect of just being impossible to stop. Now, the reason I don't like drop stepper quite as much as I did at the beginning of the year with A tier, you know, what I used to have it and stuff, is the fact that the standing lays are so bad, and when it comes to drop stepping into the paint, if you're not playing ones, it's hard to have enough time to square up with the basket properly and get a standing dunk off one of these. Like, the only way I found it to be able to do that is to do it from the baseline. So let's say you start like kind of further to the corner on your post up, essentially, rather than to do it from the top, right? Because obviously the distance to the paint in the dead zone is a little bit closer on the baseline than it is on the free throw line. So obviously, if you had to back down all the way from the free throw line down in the paint, you're not gonna have enough time to square up, like, you know, make your player face the basket as you do the drop step, wait a little bit, and then go for the standing dunk. It doesn't work like that. You have to be an X button dunker purely when it comes to drop steps, and I don't think that's a good idea when it comes to standing dunks, personally. Now, when people get hit with that animation consistently, it can be really deadly, and a lot of people don't put interior defense up on their builds. So that's another thing that these two badges benefit off, is the fact that when people have low interior D, you can really take advantage of that, and it becomes quite the problem to guard. But when people do have it, I don't know, they feel pretty useless, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, post spin lockdown is literally just a hard counter to these badges entirely. But anyway, I believe they belong in the B tier, but if you're a pure post scorer, obviously to you it might be more of an A out of necessity. But as far as the badge itself and the power of it, I think they belong on the level of these layup badges, and that's my opinion. I don't think it should be in the same breath as something like poster or float game or pro touch or fearless, and arguably probably not whistle either. So we have a lot of like really powerful badges in this A tier and S tier, and then a lot of like mediocre to good badges in the B, pretty like meh badges in the C, and then D tier terrible, and then F literally doesn't work. So that's as simple as that for the tier list video. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, stuff new to noties, all that good stuff, and like always, tries 1 to 1,000 likes. If you made it to the end of the video, put your favorite finishing badge in the comments, search parts way through, or put slash if you don't really have anything that you want to just put and you want to still show your support that you made at the end of the video. But anyway, feel free to check out the defensive one from yesterday, and we'll be doing the shooting and playmaking very soon as well. And I've been starting to shoot the ball a little bit in this game, whether it's on like a 6'8" or if it's on my 6'10" as well. So I have a little bit of a newfound, you know, idea for shooting. And I actually don't think I even made a shooting badge tier list on the first time around. So we will on this one. But anyway, that's all for the video. Hope you all enjoyed. And that, take these, man. Peace.